Hey family, it's Danielle, and today for this Tuesday chat, we are going to chat about being pregnant at 40 and what that experience has been like for myself. So if you're interested in what it's like being pregnant at 40, stick around for the video.
The snob life, the homeschooling life, the boss life, the non-traditional life, the family life.
Telling it how it is. Life outside the box.
And if you don't know what that means,
It's the non-traditional mommy.
baby.
Before we dive into this Tuesday's chat, if you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Danielle, and I am the non-traditional mommy. And on this channel, on Tuesdays, we chat about all different types of topics and things like that. So if you like grabbing a drink and sitting and chat, then join my little family. To the rest of my non-traditional family, you guys are the MVPs, and I love you bunches. Now, let's chat, you guys. So, it's Tuesday. I hope you have your drink. I have my coffee this morning in my lovely baby mama mug. I figured that was fitting for the topic that we're discussing. I just wanted to sit and chat with you guys about what it's been like for me being pregnant at 40. So, first of all, never ever did I think that I would be pregnant at 40. You know, 20-year-old Danielle had a whole plan for her life, had planned on being done having kids by 30, definitely by 35. But 20-year-old Danielle was like, I'm gonna be done having kids at 30. I'm gonna have 4 kids and adopt 2 kids. And that was kind of my life goal, right? Right before Major, I was pregnant with JB Jr., which is our baby that we lost. And JB Jr. would have been born either right before I turned 30 or right after I turned 30. And he was going to be DJ Jaden Sydney. He was going to be child number 4. And so in my mind, he was going to be it. Like, he was going to be the last baby. I had my 2 girls. I would have my 2 boys. We had already adopted one. Was thinking about adopting another one. So like, he was the deal sealer, right? And I was going to be 30. So it was like, yay, it all worked out. It's perfect. Then we lost him. So that, of course, put a whole entire different monkey wrench in our plans, because then it became this void of wanting to have a son and things like that. So I ended up getting pregnant with Major after 30. But again, got pregnant with another boy. I was 31. Actually, I was 30. He was born right before I turned 31. So again, he was like the deal closer. That was it. We got our boy. We had our 4. I was 30. So we're done. And no, God decided otherwise. And along came Charlie. Along came Phoenix, and then along came 11, and now this one. So I think when I had Charlie, how old was I when I had Charlie? I was 33. 33? 32? This is blurry now, y'all. I want to say I was 32. I was 32. So I was like, okay, I'll be done by 35. So that's okay. 35 is okay. I'm not quite at the high risk. And I put that in quotations because that has changed. But I was like, I'm not high risk, so this is okay. And had Charlie. And then Phoenix came. And how old was I with Phoenix? I was 35. Well, about to be 35. So he was born right before I turned 35. So I felt like, okay, he's in that grace period. Like, okay, God, I can accept this. And we had 3 girls, 3 boys, that we had, that I had birthed. So I was like, we're good. And I had another son and was like, okay, we will adopt. We'll be good. We'll have 8. Perfect number. I prefer even numbers. So this is perfect. And then little 11 came, and he came when I was 38. And I was like, I'm done. I'm done. Like, there's no way I'm having another baby after this. I was officially in that high risk. And again, I do that in quotations because if you use a midwife, it's different the way they view it and see it. So, but in my mind, I kind of knew like scientifically I'm supposed to be in this high risk phase. So yeah. So I was like, yeah, we're pretty much done. We're done. We're done. For real this time. And no, here we are. Here we are, y'all. 40. If somebody would have told 20-year-old Danielle, you're going to have a baby at 40, she would have been like, yeah, okay. Right. No, that's never happening. So how's it been? Honestly, I don't necessarily feel 40. When I think of 40, like the 40-year-olds that I have in my mind that I had to look at when I was younger, like for me now when I think about it, those 40-year-olds kind of seemed like they were 60, if that makes sense. Like they were 40, but they seemed so much older and just not like young and vibrant. And not that I feel like I'm 20, but I don't feel 40. Like I don't know what 40 is supposed to feel like, but in my mind, I don't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm 40, I'm so old, and my body is like breaking down. You know, the things you hear people say, or you've heard people say once they start crossing these certain ages. I don't feel that way. Mentally, I still feel like 27. And that's a good thing and a bad thing, because sometimes feeling 27, I say a lot of times I'm too immature for that. And other times I think it's a good thing because I don't feel like this person that should be, crocheting or knitting. Not that if you crochet or knit, there's anything wrong with that. I'm simply saying I don't feel like I'm at that phase of my life. I still feel like I can pretty much do everything that I did in my 20s. Like I still feel very physically capable of doing those things, maybe not at the same speed or at the same capacity or anything like that. So let me just start with that. I think because I feel this way, it has impacted how I felt a little bit with this pregnancy. Even though I feel that way though, my body has definitely let me know, nah girl, you 40. So as I have gotten further along, I definitely feel more of the aches and the pains and just the strain that pregnancy takes on your body. Now, of course, that could be just because this is my 9th pregnancy. So it could just be that I'm feeling it more because this is the 9th time that I've been pregnant. Or it could literally be just because of age. Like I just feel a lot tireder. I feel a lot more pressure. And as I get further along, the harder it gets and things like that. Whereas before in my younger pregnancies, I could be like, I was that person that could rock and roll all the way till I gave birth. Like I've never been that pregnant person that's like, oh my God, I'm so sick, or oh my back, or oh this. Like I've just never been that. Whereas this time around, I am finding myself being more and more like, okay, I just cannot do this no matter how much mental will I try to have. I physically just need to sit down and take a break. So I definitely feel that more. And I don't know, again, if that's age or if it's just because my body's like, how many times we're going to do this? So definitely that physically is how I felt this time around and at this age. I would also say that mentally, it's different because there is that part of you that's like, when this baby is 20, I'll be 60. And you have that visual in your head of like, I see these 60-year-olds and I'll have like a 20-year-old. And it's like, is that fair to this baby that I'll be 60? But then there's that other part of me that's like, but I don't have to be that at 60, because you see some 60-year-olds and they remind you of a 40-year-old or they remind you of a 50-year-old. So for me, there is that mental that plays in your head. And I think that just comes from society telling us what it should look like. But there is that kind of like, oh my gosh, I'll be 60 years old by the time this baby is like graduating from high school. But there's also that part of me that's like, that gives you that motivation to make sure when you show up at graduation that they're not like, is that your grandma? It's that motivation to not be that at the graduation. So it kind of gives you like that boost to want to stay healthier, to make sure you're taking care of your body, to make sure you're taking care of your mental state and all of those things. It's almost like a way to not allow yourself to go down the rabbit hole of, I'm getting older. And I hope that makes sense. So having a baby at 40 doesn't necessarily have to be like this bad thing, like I'm too old for this. It could be like motivation to reverse the age, the growing old. It could be your motivation to be like, yeah, I'm 40, but that doesn't mean I'm about to be, walking around on a walker at 60. Like, I'm going to be that parent that's at the graduation, that's vibrant and young and healthy and can fit in with the best of them. So there is that mental part. As far as the way my doctor's appointments have went, because I use a midwife, they've pretty much all been the same. I do know that typically when you're considered high risk age, they want you to do the, and I'm probably going to butcher the word, but the y'all don't know. Let me just stop right there. But it's basically when they give you a shot in your belly and they take out some of your amniotic fluid and run testing to see if the baby, is going to have any type of like Down syndrome, things like that. Because I think one of the biggest things they worry about as you get older is that. So I do know that that's common, or it used to be. I don't know if it's as common now, but that's typically a common test that you would get. I haven't gotten that and didn't get that with any of my kids that I had after 30. So I haven't gotten that. We have monitored, my blood pressure a little bit more in my later pregnancies because, of course, as you get older, that can be a concern, is that you get preeclampsia. You're more prone to preeclampsia the older you get. So that has been monitored a little bit more. But other than that, my prenatal visits have pretty much looked and felt the same. There hasn't been anything that has been done or out of the ordinary because I am 40. And again, that may look different if you are going to an actual doctor. And I think, honestly, that's another reason that I do appreciate using a midwife, because having a midwife treat me the same way at 40 that I was treated when I had Sydney, which I was 26 when I had her, and my appointments pretty much are identical, I think it also helps me relax a little bit. Like, I don't feel as much stress or anxiety about the fact that I am 40 and having a baby. I'm not, of course there's still that worry, but that's been with all my pregnancies. But there's not that, I think, the worry that I would have if I was going to a doctor and they were just making it like this huge big thing, like, you're 40, so you gotta, do this. And then I would feel like, oh my God, I am 40. So I think having a midwife has helped with that a little bit. So just keep that in mind. Appointments could look different based off of your doctor and, all of those things when it comes to age. Do I feel more established? There's that whole thing of, is it better to have kids young or is it better to have kids older? Is it better to have a child young and then grow with that child, so to speak, or to already have lived life and been established and done the things that you want to do and then start having kids, or have them young and then they're out the house by the time you're this age and you have the rest of your life to live? So I had my first child at 15. And now I'm having this child at 40. And so I feel like I have both sides of the spectrum. And so which would I recommend? I think this is a personal thing. It really is personal. It really is a matter of the type of vision that you see for your life and, what is your desire or reason to have children? I think all of those things matter. For me, I wouldn't want my daughter to have a baby at 15 because I just want her to be able to be a kid and live her life. But would I be upset if she had a baby at 21? Maybe not, not so much, especially if I knew what her desires were, her goals were, and how that fit into her life. For some people, they don't see children as burdens, and I think I'm one of those people. I don't necessarily feel like kids hinder you from doing things. I mean, they do, but they don't necessarily have to. So because of that, yes, I had a baby at 15, but because I had such a huge support system, I was still able to continue to do the things that I had planned on doing with my life. Maybe it didn't look the exact same as what I planned on doing. I did make adjustments because I had a baby, but I was still able to do the things that I wanted to do. Honestly, if he had been my only child, he would have been out of the house and I was 33. Is that right, y'all? 33, he would have been out the house. So I would have literally been like kid-free and living my best life had he been my only child. So got it done while I was young and living life. And so that could have been, for some, like a blessing. I have a friend and she also was a teenage mother. She had her baby at 18, I believe. So for some, that's considered a teen mom. And her son was out of the house shortly after mine, I think 2 years later. And that was the only child she ever had. And now, she lives her best life. And it's like, I'm done. I got that out the way. I sacrificed the first 18 years of my life, and now I'm just living my life. And so it's kind of like, okay, on the front end, she made all those sacrifices, but now on the back end, she's getting to reap the benefits or do whatever. Whereas now at 40, I'm going to spend, if this was my first baby, I've had this time frame to travel, or me and my husband got to establish our business, or we got to do some things, and we've made all of this groundwork, and so now we're going to have a baby. But now we're spending the later years of our life sacrificing and adjusting to the baby. So yeah, while we may have been more established financially, maybe mature, maybe in our relationship, we're still older and maybe not as fun, maybe not as forgiving, maybe not as flexible, as understanding, things like that you have to worry about when you've already kind of established your life. It's almost like the baby is now coming into a life that's already established, and they need to fit into your life, versus when you're young, you're not established, so you all are like figuring out life together, if that makes sense. There's that less of flexibility because you're fitting into a life that we've already established. I don't know, y'all. I don't know if that makes sense. But so that's my thoughts on is it better for young or old? It's personal. It really is personal. I think because we have been in different stages of our relationship, marital wise and personally, honestly, for our life, there never would have been like a good time for us to have a baby. Like, wouldn't have been when I was young because I was in college. We were newly married. We were trying to figure out our relationship. We were trying to figure out our finances. So we would have been like, no, not now. Now's not the time to have a baby. As we got in our later 20s, 30s, we were traveling and kind of trying to live our lives, so to speak, and enjoy our lives. So we probably would have been like, oh no, we got married I was 25. So, that 27 to 30-ish, we were starting to travel, and it's like, oh no, we're trying to just bond as a married couple. So we probably would have felt like now's not the time either. And then at 30, my husband started climbing the ladder at his current job. And so it would have been like, well, I'm focused on my career and, trying to get promoted and established. And more than likely, I would have had a career. And so wouldn't have been a good time then either. We moved and would have been like, well, we just moved here. We need to learn this city and things like that. And then shortly after we moved, we got a blow, and then we started a business. And we definitely, I could tell you without a doubt, if it was in our power, would have been like, we're not having a baby right now because we're in the thick of starting a business and it is consuming our life. So for us, honestly, there would have never been a good time for us to have a baby. And then I would have been like, I'm 40. We're not having, like, I'm 40. So, it just wouldn't have been a good time. So it really just depends on your personality, your desire, where you are in life. I always say it really isn't ever a good time to have a child, because it's such a huge sacrifice that you make as a person. It just is. So there's never really a good time. So I can't say, is it better to do it when you're younger or you're older? I think God just knew me, knew my husband, and knew that we just had to just give him to us, because otherwise we would have none right now. So that's my thoughts on that. Other than that, I will let you guys know what it's like to give birth at 40. That shall be interesting. In my mind, I'm thinking it's not going to look much different than it looked at 38. I mean, we're only talking 2 years, but you never know. And other than that, I feel pretty good. I mean, of course, there's the pains, the aches, the burden that it has taken on my body. but I don't feel like, oh my God, I'm 40. Somebody woke up. Come on. He's still sleepy though. But I don't feel like, oh, you know, this is too much. It's a lot when you have 11 kids and you're 40 and you're running a business. It's a lot. But I don't feel like physically, if you're 40 and you're relatively in good health and decent shape and mental, and you have a great support system, you know, a great spouse, significant other, even better if your parents are still around and still alive. I don't feel like 40 is too old to have a baby. Like, I don't feel like people saying, oh, you're 40 or I'm 40. Like, that doesn't, okay, you can still have a baby. It's my feelings on that. The same way I don't feel like telling someone who's 21 they're too young. You know, God designed our bodies where we get our cycles at a certain age and we stop getting them at a certain age. So obviously God knew that our bodies were capable of having babies during this time frame. So those are my feelings and thoughts and how I felt around being pregnant at 40. So I would love to know if you have had a baby at 40 or if you're currently pregnant at 40. How do you feel? What's your experience been like? Leave that in the comments below. If you were a young mom, what are your thoughts on being a young mom versus having kids older? Let us know that as well. And if you guys have any other questions in regards to what it's like to be pregnant at 40, feel free to leave those below as well. If you're still here, then you need to subscribe because that makes you an MVP. And now you're a part of my family. To the rest of my family, I love you guys, and I will see you next Tuesday. Bye.